Hey, everybody. Today I had an amazing guest with me on the podcast, Lisann Valentin, from hit shows like Manifest and The Blacklist to New York Times bestselling anthology Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It. She was a lawyer turned actor who now just help other people with her coaching as well. So we talked a lot about reinventing yourself, being multi-passionate, and really listen to your intuition when it comes to pivoting in doing what you love. This was a great conversation, super fun. She had a lot to contribute. I hope you enjoy this one. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. You're not just winging it, you are leading it. But let's be honest, being the CEO and the everything else can get lonely, messy, and exhausting. That's why I created the Accidental CEO Collective, a free Facebook community for creative entrepreneurs who never plan to be the boss. But damn it, here we are. Inside, I go live every week to share the real stuff. Strategies that don't require a business degree, behind-the-scenes struggles, because you're not the only one, and wins that we actually celebrate, even the tiny ones. If you're a scrappy, smart, sometimes slightly burnout founder who is ready to lead with more clarity and less chaos, this is your room. We're building a business that works for us, not one that runs us into the ground. Come join us. Let's grow, mess up, pivot, and succeed together. Just search the Accidental CEO Collective on Facebook and join our group today. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, and today I have Lisann Valentin with me. From the hit shows like Manifest and The Blacklist to the New York Times bestselling anthology Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It, which I love the title, by the way. This lawyer turned actor knows a thing or two about reinventing herself at any age, all while still helping people through their personal transformation as a certified spiritual coach. So we're going to dive into a little bit more on talking about how a midlife crisis can be a midlife awakening. And I'm so excited to be talking to her. She's been in some of my favorite shows. And I just love that she is a multi-passionate person like I am. So welcome, Lisann.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us just a little bit more about just where you are doing today. What is the current state of your life? What are you focusing on? And then we might backtrack a little bit and just learn a little bit of your story of why all these changes kind of happen in your life.
Well, I think like this year has been the year of allowing all of my passions to merge. You know, if you come from a background like I did on Wall Street, compartmentalization was valued, right?
Yeah.
This is work, this is life, this is my hobby, and it's all separate. And being a multi-passionate person, there was always this overlap. And so this past year has been the exploration of allowing all of my gifts to merge. And how that showed up as a spiritual coach was allowing myself to support those people that had multi-passionate lives, whether they were in a traditional career, they're in the arts, they're doing multiple, they're entrepreneurs. A lot of them have high profile careers and have a lot of people relying on them. And so I understand that the dynamic, and being able to have all this, a beautiful quilt of a background, this diversity helps me to show up and support them as they step into the next level of their becoming, whatever that looks like for them. So for some people, that's writing the next book. For some people, that's public speaking. For some people, that's running a political campaign. It depends on where their soul is calling them. And because I know a little bit about what a soul cry feels like, I get really excited to help them navigate that space. So that's what it looks like. I'm merging everything.
That's awesome. I think it's such a hard thing to do, but something that a lot of people actually want to do and want to be inspired to do. And we feel like there's such a barrier a lot of times to like, no, you have to choose a path and stick to it and be specific. And I always felt pulled in different directions in my life. So I love this concept of being able to just merge things together when they make sense and be able to just do what you love, even though that's not one thing. It could be, 2 or 3 different things. So What prompted that initial shift from being a Wall Street lawyer to pursuing acting? Because that was a big difference right there. So let's talk through that.
Writing, journaling through it is what was the transitional piece that helped me discover the acting. So essentially, I was really unhappy as an attorney. And I kind of thought everyone was just unhappy as an attorney.
It's
Which,
just state of the profession.
it was like, yeah, that's what this is. And actually, no, there's plenty of people that really love the law and love what they do. And I was in litigation and I started blogging about like what I feel this way, what's going on, and telling my story. I started a book club and we started reading books about transformation, like The Alchemist, like Eat, Pray, Love, all these books that sort of helped us as a club rediscover what it was that we were passionate about. Lots of different people in that group. Somewhere I started picking up some fiction books, and then I started exploring, well, what if I just took an acting class to be a better lawyer? Maybe that's what I need to do, because I was taking everything home with me as an attorney. I'm highly empathic, and I definitely couldn't, like, if we had it out in court, I was taking that with me. So we weren't going to be friends outside, like if we had it out in court. And so I did. I took an acting class, and then that opened up like a whole new world to me. And I realized, oh, I want to perform. I thought that being a lawyer would allow me the platform to help people while allowing me to express myself and to use my voice and to be seen. There were so many levels and layers to what was going on and why I chose litigation. But at the end of the day, it was really that I had a bigger purpose, and this was just one step in the journey. I wouldn't have seen that, and I think that even me back then wouldn't be able to see me now and say, "Oh yeah, this is the path." Not at all. That version of me would not be on board with being a spiritual coach. Like I tell this to people all the time. I didn't grow up saying I wanted to be a lawyer, an actor, and then become a spiritual coach. Like that was not.
Really, it
No.
was not a common path.
No, it wasn't like my aspiration at 5. Like this is what I want to do. No.
What did the support or doubt maybe look like around family and friends when you started sharing that you were gonna leave your lawyer career and jump into acting? Was there some support, or was there a lot of like, you're crazy, what do you think you're doing? Like, how did that work for you?
There was support. I think a lot of the doubt in the "you're crazy" was coming from me.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling myself that I was crazy. I started very slowly. It was like I was dipping my toe in the water. Like I was trying out, I was taking acting classes and auditioning while I was practicing law. And it was a secret. Only the people that read my anonymous blog knew. Right. And so, like, I was
Kind of
talking
new.
about it. Yeah, kind of knew, but didn't know who it was. And then slowly I just started coming out of that closet. And my family was really supportive. They kind of saw that for me all along, but didn't know, I suppose they didn't think I'd ever pursue it or ever realize it for myself. And then I did. And what it was like another level of showing up in the world, right? If you explore being seen on camera, like even like this podcast, you're in front of the camera, you're using your face, your visage is available for the world. And then your voice is also available for the world. And if you can make an impact using all of who you are fully without hiding it, that's so much more impactful because it gives people permission, even though they don't need permission. They might think they do, to step out in the world as themselves in a bigger way. And so I started that as an attorney, but it wasn't getting the fulfillment piece. And then as an actor, was totally feeling fulfilled by letting myself be seen and heard and play. Oh my God, play is a big part. I got support because I was authentically playing. I was authentically happy. My why was not like fame or like being known as an actor. My why was like to really just own myself, own my body, own all of my gifts, and to enjoy it, to enjoy this life, you know? And then once I got that, like coaching kind of just happened on the side. Like it was crazy how that happened. But like, no one came up to me and said, "You're crazy." There was envy though.
Ah.
I did see people, they would make comments and like, backward compliments, like things like that about what I was doing. And I would notice, oh, you're triggered by my willingness to color outside the lines because you haven't done it yet. And
Yeah.
that's okay. You'll get there if you want. It's not my business. But you start seeing things like that.
That's true. It's very, I feel like it's less common for people to directly come and say, "What do you think you're doing? Are you crazy?" Except, family sometimes might do that. I didn't have that. So I did a big career shift myself and always also went from kind of a science, stable, quote unquote, environment to the creative side of things. So, but never had anybody say, at least to my face,
At
that I
least to
was
your face.
crazy.
Yeah.
But you definitely hear those, like you said, backhanded comments, compliments of like, you can tell they wish they had the courage and the guts to take that step, which is not an easy step to take. Changing to that degree of profession and environment. So it's an important step to have support on. So I'm glad you had some of that in your life too.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's an identity shift, right? And so even as an actor, I had to shift my identity. I was being called counselor anytime I walked into any professional environment, and now that was gone. And I was whatever role I was playing, I was an actor, and I become that. And actually, that was really freeing. There was nothing tied or expectations from anyone tied to my achieving anything. And I think that's the biggest shift, right? Like if you're on a traditional trajectory, and it's something like, for example, in my family, I was the first. I don't know about you, if you were the first.
Yeah.
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 There's so much weight tied to your success. Even if they don't mean to put it on you, sometimes we create that story of like everyone's relying on me. I have to do this, right? Instead of like I get to do this, is I have to do this. Then you find the thing that you get to do and you're like, this is the thing. And like no one's relying on you to do the thing you love except for the most important person in the room, which is you. Then you get to show up for them, and that life feels different. Life looks different, and you look different when you do it.
That's awesome. Are you still doing some acting?
All the time. Yeah, I'm going to a film festival next month for a film I shot earlier this year. So I'm like super excited. I love it. Like I
Awesome.
still do it, but it's not like either or, right? It's
Hmm.
and it's both and.
What was your favorite things that you've worked on so far from in your acting career? Do you have a favorite show that you can tell us? We won't tell anybody.
It's so hard to say. Like I love all of them in different ways. I think I had a fun moment. There was the show The Blacklist. When I shot The Blacklist, it was a heavy topic, and it actually was very impactful. I'm really proud that I got to appear, especially in that episode. It had a big message. But the director was an actor that I'd seen as a child on in a movie, and he was part of the Brat Pack. I think it was called the Rat Pack. I don't know which one. Rat Pack. One of them. Andrew McCarthy. He was in a movie called Mannequin
Yeah.
back in the 80s, maybe. And as a little girl, I was obsessed with the movie. Kim Cattrall was in it, and she plays a mannequin that comes to life. And he falls in love with her, whatever. Anyway, as a kid, I was obsessed with the characters, like the whole story. It was so crazy, this movie, but I was a little girl. And so when I'm on the set, I get a tap on my shoulder, and the director is Andrew McCarthy, which for whatever reason, my brain didn't register that he was the director. This person I'd seen as a little girl. And I pretty much almost swallowed my tongue like to say hello. It took, an infinity. You're like, oh my God, get it together, be a professional in your brain. And you're just looking stone faced at a human being. So all these thoughts are in my brain. And I was like, hello, very professional. But in my mind, me as a little girl was like screaming, like, oh my God, that's him. So that was a fun moment because it felt like little girl me got to be in this human adult experience. And I think if you can remember moments like that where like the kid in you like is so freaking excited about your adultness, what you're doing, you start to say like, "Oh, I'm doing this thing called life right." I'm doing it right. Like if little me is excited, this is good. And so I think that's why I really like that memory. Yeah.
I love that. That's one of my favorite shows. So
Oh,
I'm
really? The
happy.
Blacklist?
I'm happy that was one of your favorite memories. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, he's a good director.
So you talked a little bit about that transition, the midlife crisis that became a midlife awakening. So elaborate a little bit more for us on how that period of time kind of changed and just led some personal and professional growth for you.
I feel like I've had several of these. So if we're talking about the transition from law to acting, that was one of the biggest ones, I would say. And then the one into spiritual coaching also was something just as similar. Either one, there was like this thing that I like to call like your soul is shaking you awake. right? Your soul is like you're not feeling fulfilled. There's nothing you can do in this current role that makes you feel like you're living life on purpose. And everything in your body knows it. It's undeniable. And so, like, there's this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, where she describes a kriya in yoga, which is like a series of postures and breaths and mudras that are supposed to allow you to get into alignment, right? And she describes the kriya as a soul cry. And if you feel this sort of like I'm walking numbly through life, which is what I felt, I remember I was on the train and I started crying before I had to get to court. You're just kind of taking steps forward, but you're not even in your own body anymore. And that's an awful feeling, you know? And so I was definitely in a kriya then. And my soul was saying, there's more to this. You don't have to do this anymore. And I was crying on the train going to work. And I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And it was that same summer that I ended up quitting. But it had been a long journey of me just like trying to get through the day, white knuckling it. Thankfully, because I'm highly intuitive and I come from like multiple generations of highly intuitive healers, I was listening. I was listening to the soul call, right? That cry. I was listening to it and I was, one, ignoring it actively, and then two, deciding to do something about it, right? And what helped me through that was meditation and journaling and really asking myself bigger questions like, what happens if I leave this all behind? Does the world end? Do I die? Because that's what we think, right? The world's going to end or I'm going to die. And really that's not necessarily the case. Nobody died and the world didn't end. And in fact, I got to live. And so the emotional journey was fraught with internal turmoil of like, how do I let old me go so I can make space for the new me? And that happened again when the spiritual coaching thing came up. It was like, do I have to let acting go? Do I have to stop this? Does that look the same? And my answer is no. If you find yourself in multiple stages of awakening, which if you're doing this life thing right, you might find multiple layers of this where you start something, you create something, and you let it go. It doesn't mean that it has to be gone forever. It just might change its shape. And so for me, I left the law, but I still use the law in business. So that didn't go anywhere. I still use it for myself, for my businesses. And then as the spiritual coach, the acting shows up because I get to be on camera in front of a microphone and dealing with all the tech aspects and sort of understanding that because of my acting background. And also, I get to show up for other performers as well because I understand what they've gone through. And so, like, you think you let something go, but it was there to teach you something and it still carries you forward into the next thing. And so, that's a long winded way of saying a soul cry shows up to wake you up to the next level. Expect there to be multiple levels.
Yeah. 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 There's a lot of transferable skills that we don't realize. You can carry on to the next phase of your life. You don't have to completely start over again and feel like you know nothing, you have no skills, you have nothing to offer. There's a lot that you can bring from one phase to the next and just build upon all of that. So you talk about intuition a lot and how that played a role in your career transitions, and I'm sure now as a coach. So let's dive into a little bit more about like how do you see intuition into the things that you do right now?
I talked earlier about like the idea of a kriya being a soul's cry, which again, I didn't come up with that. But if you think about the language of your soul, I think intuition is that. It is the highest part of you speaking, right? You're connecting to divine source, your highest self talking to you. And so when I was little, I would journal, and at the time I was writing to God, and God was my pen pal, and I would talk, and then God would talk back. So like I'd just be writing back and forth, but it was always me to myself. And that guiding post was the thing that kind of I've kept consistent. You know, I started meditating at 13, but journaling was still there. Writing to God was still there. That never let it go. And that was the compass. So when I needed to know, like, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What's the next step that I can take? Who can I reach out to? I was journaling and getting the answers back. And why that showed up for me was because I played with intuition. I didn't sort of make any rules around it. I wasn't really rigid with it, even though growing up, like, there was a little rigidity with it with my family. They had rules and they had tools, and they just didn't, not all of it aligned with me. But I will say, the one thing that did was my lineage. So I'm a fifth generation shaman. They would have called it curandera,
Yep.
right? And so my grandfather's grandmother, I was always interested in her. Like, I just wanted to know more about her, and there wasn't enough, but other than that, she was like a renowned healer in Puerto Rico. And what we learned from her, what we passed down without talking about titles or anything like that, was energy healing and intuition. But with the way I grew up, intuition was like a warning signal. It was something bad is going to happen. This is what intuition was. And like, I kind of was like, I don't really enjoy that. That's awful, right? If it's only an alarm. Now, if I take it to a kriya, it's a different type of alarm. It's an internal alarm saying there's more to life. And so, in that way, intuition served me as in that type of alarm. But mostly, what it did was open me up to a bigger conversation. And that helped me in the law. It helped me for sure as an actor to really get authentic. And it helps me as a coach because I get to ask better questions, not just for myself, but for my clients, and to teach them how to ask the right questions for themselves, how to see what direction they're steering themselves in this boat, on this journey. Are they riding the waves? Are they struggling? They feel like they're drowning. What's going on? And if you can ask the right questions, you'd be surprised at the answers that you get. And so intuition can be used in so many ways. Energy healing is definitely part of it, and mindfulness is the same for me. But if you can stay quiet long enough to listen to what your soul is saying, it's going to guide you in the right direction. And it's going to be simpler than you imagine. And it's going to be easier than you think. But taking the time to listen, regardless of your heritage, ancestry, regardless of what you learned, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up with one way, and I think you get it. I'd love to hear a little bit your perspective on it. Like, I shifted the narrative. I have a lineage, but I shifted the way my family taught me to use it.
Yeah, I feel like today's think our world is so loud and busy and fast that it's hard, like finding the time to be quiet, to listen to your intuition and yourself and your mind or whatever you want to call it. Like just taking that quiet time to reflect is such a hard thing to do. You're like, when do I find time to do that? If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, which a lot of our audience is like, you're just using every single minute that you have to try to grow that business. And then you have a family that you have to tend to sometimes on top of all of that. And you are just happy to have some free time to take a nice long shower every once in a while. And maybe that is your quiet time. Maybe it's, you can be creative and use it, but I think it's so important. I agree with you just to take that time to just listen and ask questions. I think important thing is to ask questions and be curious about how you're feeling, what you're thinking. I definitely see the need to that more and more as I grow into my new ventures in myself, and I can definitely appreciate that practice now more and more.
So, like, the shower. That is my favorite place to get grounded. So, if you think about it, water is an element, and you're now with nature. If that's all you have for nature is your shower, then embrace it. Okay? Nature will get you grounded in like minutes. So, allow the shower to be that experience. And one of my coaches had told me to get these waterproof paper and pencil that you could put in the shower. They
Oh,
were
I
like
have
love
one of
notes.
those.
You have one? Yeah, they're perfect. Because when you get a lot of inspiration in the shower. So what do you think that's coming from? That's your intuition. That's your soul talking to you. That's saying like, hey, this is the next best thing you can do for your business, for your family, for the things that are important to you. But like those few minutes in the shower, if that's all you have, then yes, you can make that your temple. You can make that your chamber of inspiration. You can make it whatever you want while you scrub your ass. Like, do what you have to do, like, just to be grounded, and also tend to your body. Giving yourself that affection and love. Like, if you're actually just intentionally taking care of this physical temple, and that's the most self-care you can give to yourself, then make the most of it. That act of love is going to open you up to even more guidance. And so the thing about intuition, it doesn't have to look like me meditating for 15 minutes or going to an outside temple. Your shower is your temple, your body's your temple, like whatever it is that you want. But like, making the time is actually important to the future of what you're co-creating. It's important. It is going to give you the monetary support that you need. It is going to give you the stability that you want for your family. It is going to create the impact that you're looking for. It's actually the key to all of it. And you don't have to use the word intuition. You can use whatever word calls to you. But that internal compass, that thing that's driving you, That's the most important thing. So whatever time you've got, if it's just before bed, if it's for people that are religious, getting on your knees in the morning, whatever it is that like calls you to that inner space, that is a priority. To me, that's a priority. I cannot show up in the world and support anyone, least of all myself, if I don't give myself that grace.
100%. And Aqua Notes should sponsor the podcast, by the way.
Aqua Notes. They
Calling
should.
out to Aqua Notes to sponsor the podcast.
They should. Do you talk about that a lot?
Oh, it's so funny. It's always in the shower, right? When you get the best ideas. So I was like, I am no longer going to miss that opportunity. It's going to be, notes are going to be taken in the shower.
Could you imagine? Because how many times have you tried to reach for your phone while you're in the shower to like write something down?
Girl, you don't even know. My husband gave me this gift, which I love him to death for. It's actually something that goes on my wall in the shower, and I can put my phone in there to protect my phone. So that's where I watch TV a lot of times because I don't sit in my living room to watch TV like ever. So my TV slash reflection time is in the shower. So I can write notes and I can watch my my TV in the shower.
That
I
is
love
your
that.
temple. Oh my
That
God.
is
That's
my
your
little
you time.
place. Love me some nice hot water. Multitasking at every moment. It's my curse.
But you know what's funny about that? Not that like sometimes when we're trying to like make a massive pivot in our life, sometimes we think we have to do this thing, create something, build something, make a business, the next thing, the next thing. Sometimes your soul is asking you to just find some joy, to slow down, to take care of you. Sometimes that's all that's being asked of you. And that's the biggest thing that's going to take you to the next thing. But if we don't slow down enough, life's going to slow us down, is what I'm hearing. So, like, you know, like I had hustle culture on Wall Street, like for sure.
I bet.
And then I thought I let it go as an actor, and I had it because acting is a business. And so I got the business mindset really quick for acting. And then I was hustling again, meaning like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, got to book the next job, whatever. And it was like I was slowed down. Literally, like I sprained my ankle so bad, I couldn't go anywhere. And I remember being so frustrated and then listening to myself saying like, stop, just stop. And I did. And I slowed down long enough to like write the next book and to dive deeper into my intuition in a way that I hadn't previously, you know, and my life changed again. Sometimes when you slow down, like you're actually making space for something you've been asking for your whole life.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Delegation Secrets How to Let Go and Scale Your Business course. Are you ready to scale your business without burnout? As an entrepreneur, you're juggling everything. Client work, marketing, admin, finances is exhausting. You build your business from the ground up, but it's time to ask yourself, how long can I keep doing it all on my own? What if you could free up time for higher level activities that truly make the needle move in your business? What if you could scale without sacrificing your sanity? It all starts with one word: delegation. The Delegation Secrets course comes with 6 different modules, and you learn everything from the mindset of delegation to identifying tasks you should delegate, build a trustworthy team, effective communication for seamless delegation, tools and processes for efficient outsourcing, and measuring success and scaling further. Let's break free together. You can find more information on accidentalceo.co/delegate-course. Now back to the episode. Let's talk about your book a little bit since you mentioned that. Tell me about what made you think I'm going to write a book, or and then where to even start. What was that like? Tell me more about all of that.
Well, the first round was with Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It, and I wasn't thinking about writing anything. I followed an intuitive nudge that said, go check out Elizabeth Gilbert's Instagram. Literally, it was 11 o'clock at night, I remember, and I felt I had to go on Instagram and look at her page. I didn't know why. And I went, and she was talking about how her publishing company was looking for stories. And I was like, oh, I'll submit the story. Because I'd been blogging about it for years. I had the story. And so the first thought was, I'm going to submit. The second thought was, no way they're going to pick me. That was the second thought. That was my human. immediately underneath that, like a roar, like a lion's roar in my heart, I heard, yes, they will. It was the most determined, powerful force I'd ever heard in my body. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, right? And I did. And they picked me, and it became a New York Times best-selling anthology. Like, my story and the story of about 20 other authors about how we changed our lives. That was my first go. My second go was a book I wrote during the pandemic called The Everyday Actor. And I wasn't trying to write that book. I was writing something else entirely that I didn't know if I was going to publish. It was like some sci-fi thing. We're just playing around. And then it was like, write the book. Right. And I go, what book? What do you mean? Write a book for actors. And I'm like, but why? And I was like, because they need it, because they need it, because they need it. And I'm like, oh my God. So I wrote it. I wrote it. I self-published, which I'd been exploring for 3 years before. So again, I was already on this road, but not knowing why. I was just exploring stuff. That became number one on Amazon for like 2 weeks when I self-published that. And that also was for a greater good. There were a lot of actors kind of beating themselves up, not understanding the new dynamics of our entertainment industry. And I was able to be of service with the thing I wasn't intending to create. So a lot of times we're being prepared for the thing we're about to create or do, or the impact we're about to make without realizing it. And so no, I didn't even intend to write that, and then it ended up happening. And I was in the middle of it while I'm like, well, you know what, Divine, if you're gonna make me write it, then you write it. And literally I was stubborn, like, you do it. And I sit here waiting for the words to come, and they would come. Like, just like that, they would just come. And of course, like, I don't want to make it sound like it's so easy, but automatic writing, the way I write, this is something I've been practicing my whole life. It's accessible to everyone, but I don't want to make it seem like if someone hasn't done it that they can't do it. It just takes practice and the belief that you can. And so that being said, anyone can write a book. If you're thinking about writing one, you can do it.
Get inspired.
Yeah, I mean, for real, like, everyone has a story.
That's funny. I actually just posted one of her quotes, Elizabeth Gilbert,
You did?
this week. Yeah, because I teach a lot about delegation, and it's something that people struggle with as business owners so much. So she has a very nice quote that talks about, you're afraid of letting go because you think you're going to lose power, but you never had power. All you had was anxiety.
Yeah,
Just
that's so
teaching people.
true.
Yeah. And so it's a really cool quote. And I kind of built a whole, post about it. And I'm very passionate about helping people to understand how to delegate properly, because we do burn ourselves down to the ground by trying to do everything ourselves. So
That's been a big lesson for me.
very, very, it's a hard journey, but it's so needed, especially if you want to grow your business. It needs to be part of your plan to be able to scale your business, is to be able to delegate appropriately. And a lot of the times when things don't go well from a delegation standpoint, it's because we didn't communicate properly and didn't choose the right tasks to delegate and all of that. So yeah, she's very good. I love her quote for that.
Oh my God. It's funny when you feel like so connected to someone. So I met her in the elevator at Good Morning America.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, on the day that we were promoting the book. I was late to Good Morning America. And they had already shot my segment. I was supposed to be there while she was being interviewed live, and I was late to the studio. I thought I was late anyway. And it was just being orchestrated that we would be the only two people in the elevator, her with her publicist and me with my mom and my sister. And then we just started talking because she picked the stories that were in the book.
Yeah.
So it was just like, even things like that, like being late. You think that, oh God, I'm going to beat myself up for not being in control of my time or the traffic or whatever. And like things are being aligned for you. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to choosing the people that are going to work on your team, like trusting that it's going to align. Just have a clear vision. Decide what kind of support you want, and then ask for it. Clearly communicate it, like be very specific, like what you need. And don't be afraid to ask questions or have people ask questions of you. Like that's part of it. Sometimes we don't surrender control because we're just so fucking scared. Like, I don't know if I can curse on this, but we're just so scared, And then we're like, oh no, I have to do it all myself. There's no other way this can be accomplished, It's like, absolutely not.
Absolutely. So I know becoming a CEO wasn't planned for you, just like it wasn't planned for a lot of us. That's why we're in the Accidental CEO podcast. So What has been, would you say, the biggest surprise or challenge that, leading your spiritual coaching practice, like going from having these careers to accidentally having now this new part of you and new business that you have?
I think I had a lot of surprises. I think one was not even knowing that I was going to be investing so much in my growth, not just spiritually, but also on the business end of things. I really believe in having a mentor, coach, someone that can support you. I also won't go to a coach that doesn't have their own coach. Do you know what I mean? Like I won't go to a psychiatrist who doesn't go to a psychiatrist. Like like walk what you talk. You know what I mean? So that's a value system for me. I didn't realize how much I'd be investing. I also didn't realize initially how much fear I had around the energy exchange of money. Somewhere around there, I told myself, like as a spiritual coach, no, you don't charge for this. Like, and that's not true, right? That's it's the value you provide, and you can set a monetary amount for that that feels good to you, that feels aligned with you. And it took me a long time to do that. I was coaching for free for a year before I even thought about creating a business around it. And I think there's still some people that struggle with that, you know. I think that if you're walking your talk, there's a lot of service you provide just by existing, and you can have a business. And it's actually that's your job to show up in that capacity, wearing that hat, like you're wearing, like literally wearing the hat. Yeah, so you can serve in that way. And you can support yourself and thrive and live a beautiful life and set the example to others so others can follow and lead their own way. So I think that was a big one. Right now it's 4:44 and I'm looking at the time. That was a big one for
Angel,
me.
is that angel hour?
Yeah.
Let's make a wish. We don't tell anybody, but let's make a wish.
Okay.
Yes. Hopefully you guys made a wish too. We'll pretend it's angel hour for you guys too as you're listening. So I think money mindset is such a huge thing. When I'm coaching clients, most often than not, people come up to me saying that that's their problem. So they'll be like, oh, I have a lead issue or I can't convert my clients. And at the end of the day, it's mindset. There's a ton of mindset issues, and money mindset is one that comes into play a lot based on how we are raised around money and what we hear about money when we're little. And I know, I'm sure your background might be somewhat similar to mine, of having Latino culture and around money is very interesting dynamics. The money doesn't grow on trees, and what its value and how much you spend money and how much you try to save it and try to get a deal out of things, and try not never to pay full price for anything. And so there's so much in our mindset from when we're little that comes across when we become business owners, and kind of self sabotage happens a lot because we don't value, we have a hard time asking for the money when we're offering a service because it's hard for us to see the value. And maybe I am not my ideal client, right? So we're trying to now spend somebody else's money for them, not letting people make their own decisions. And so I talk a lot about, selling from a place of love and understanding that you're doing something for your client and not something to your client when you're selling something to them. Like they're gladly coming to you with a problem that they want to live it with you. And they more than will be more than happy to give you some money in exchange for you to keep that problem and give them a solution. And we are so hesitant to charge the right price sometimes and value what we do. And it's a huge mindset shift that has to happen for you to start understanding that you are offering something of value, you're helping that person, you're doing out of love, and you truly believe in what you're offering. And that holds a lot of business owners back.
Like let's take it even back to like exactly what you're saying. Like I remember when I started acting, I have a very rational mind. So even though I came from a very mystical background, I mean, intuition and energy healing was like Saturday. That's every Saturday growing up. Like that was normal. But my rational mind, like it was so separate from like everyday life. It was just what my family did. And so if it didn't fit into a rational paradigm, also those cultural identity shifts, right? Like what is the value of this? What kind of deal am I getting this? I'm not going to be taken advantage of, all around the idea of money, right? So what are you investing in? What is the rational purpose for it? Back then, I'm pretty sure, like, if someone told me, oh, actually, no, that they did. I spoke to a life coach back then, and I didn't understand the value, and so I didn't sign up with her. I was like, you're not a psychiatrist, so I don't understand why I would spend this money. It made no sense to me. And then I walked away from it. Universe is funny. And so, like, even with, like, when I was acting, they told me you need vocal coaching and movement classes. And I would say, what does that have to do with acting? Literally, I said, what does it have? And I was so brand new. It has everything to do. Your whole body is your instrument. It has everything to do with acting. But my rational mind wasn't seeing it. And then if you think about like coaching, life coaching, business coaching, spiritual coaching, any type of support outside the quote unquote norm, if it's there, it exists for a reason. And if you're being called to it, it's for a reason. There is something in that paradigm, whatever modality you're getting, whatever coach you're looking at, that's calling to a part of you that needs support that the traditional paradigm doesn't offer. It's just not offering to you. That's why you're looking in a different direction. And so if you can allow yourself, oh, that's so funny, to leave your old ideas behind and open up to something new, then maybe this is something that you're going to start to incorporate into your value system. And so it took me a long time to, one, value myself enough to say, this is what I'm offering. And yes, there is an exchange required for this because I cannot operate from an empty cup. I cannot be depleted and show up to support you. I cannot be famished and then be here for you. Like, that doesn't make sense. That's an old story. That's literally an old story that even as women, we were taught, right? I will feed my whole family first and I will starve. Absolutely not. You eat first. We all sit together. It's fine. You don't need to give away all your food.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like, there's this it's so layered, this idea of like, to be of value in the world, you must be depleted. You must be martyred.
Yeah. No.
No, no, absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely not. That's bullshit. It's total bullshit. And so when I think about people like Mother Teresa, who I've loved her my whole life. She was a very wealthy woman. She was a nun, but she had a lot of money, right? And so you're allowed to be wealthy and good, wealthy and pious. You're allowed to support yourself and overflow and enjoy life and actually create beautiful ripples of impact in the world around you. It's not one or the other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Money allows you to do a lot of good things, make people
Yeah.
happy, help other people. We need to stop seeing money as something bad. And again, that's another money mindset stuff. So,
But mindset is everything.
yeah.
It's everything. You cannot achieve something if you have this limited mindset. Right? Energy wants to move. If you think you're only capable of achieving what's directly in front of you, you're missing 360 degrees of a world around you. There's so much more. But if you're raised that life is a straight line and you can only be successful if you follow the straight line of the people before you, that's going to be a different experience. It's not bad, it's just different. Just ask
Ask
yourself,
some
what's your
questions.
soul? Right? Ask the questions. What is
Ask
your
some
soul
questions.
calling you to? Yes.
What advice would you give to, clients, especially those that are multi-passionate like us, seeking to maybe pivot into their purpose maybe later in their life? Any specific advice?
Yes. Number one, disregard any idea that it's too late. That's a lie. It's never too late. Okay. That's the first one. If that's the biggest struggle, then that's the first thing you're going to work through, the idea that it's too late. Two, the biggest critic you will have on this journey will be yourself. Be kind to them, show them some love. Okay. And lean into the critic so you can dispel all the BS that they're going to throw at you. And I'd say three, get support. Find someone that's been on the path before you who can help you with it. It's not something that you have to do alone. And any idea that you have to do everything by yourself is also a lie. So find someone who's walked the walk, who walks the talk, to walk beside you, even if it's for a limited amount of time. Because the more you grow, those people, you're going to grow out of them and into someone else. And so get support, deal with your inner critic, and remember, it's never too late. Absolutely, until your last breath, it's never too late.
100%. Totally agree. But again, coming from somebody who's done it, I know taking that first step and that first pivot sounds scary and, crazy, but you can do it. You just have to dedicated some time to it and take a step at a time. Just like you've learned your current profession and at one point you didn't know, you didn't have the skills for it, you can do it again. Like nothing keeps you from doing it. And right now we have so much access to things online. I mean, you can learn just about anything online these days, and put into practice, with some practice spaces and internships and helping people and just putting yourself out there. There's so much you can do. So it's never too late for sure.
No, because we're at a time where we're all creating, so many of us are creating roles that didn't exist. If you think about it, like even maybe 10 years ago, would you have been like, I'm going to have a podcast?
Oh, no.
What the F is a podcast? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean a podcast? Like, no one would have been thinking or striving for that. And like, how many people are listening to your voice and feeling inspired by what you're co-creating? How many people are taking leaps and pivoting because of what you're sharing? But you didn't have to have that specific vision. You just had to decide that you knew you wanted to show up as something more than what you were. That's the pivot, the decision point.
Exactly. That's why it's called a pivot, guys.
Yeah.
But you got to move. Pivoting includes movement, meaning you gotta get going. You gotta do it. So, any valuable lessons from the entertainment industry that have influenced your coaching?
Oh, there's so many. I think the biggest one is when you let yourself play, you get to create magic in whatever you're doing. As a performer, if I let myself play, meaning for myself, not to please anyone else, I know what I'm there to do a job. We have the parameters of the game set, and now I get to play. I fully show up. I have so much fun, and people can feel that. They can feel the authenticity of that. It resonates with them. It speaks to their soul in a different way. It's the same with what I do now. If I am enjoying what I'm doing and I'm playing, people feel it. They get excited by it, right? If I'm here trying to emulate someone, like I can't be here and say I'm going to do what Oprah does. I'm not Oprah. I'm Lisann. I can only do it the way I do it. I'm like a spiritual sailor. I cuss a lot. Like I like things to be really practical. Even the most mystical things, I'm irreverent and practical about it. And that's me, and I'm playing in that space. But playing is inherently involves action, like you said, right? Doing. It's the doing and allowing yourself to receive what the next step is. So that's like allowing yourself to get it, the download, the information, the guidance, and then acting upon it. And then also surrender. As an actor in Hollywood, I had to surrender control of the end result. The way they edited that content, the way that film came out, the way the TV show came out, not on my hands. I did my job. What happens after I walk off the set is none of my business, and it's the same thing here. Like I have a certain amount of control. I can show up. I can provide the tools. I can hold the space. I can be that vessel of so much love that helps the other person witness the love in them. After that, it's not my job. They get to go and move. They get to go activate healing. They get to go and be the better, bigger version of themselves that they want to be. It's up to them. And so surrender is one of the biggest things, I think. Yeah.
So what is next for you?
Oh my gosh. I'm co-hosting a retreat at the end of this year in Costa Rica. Oh my God. Do you want to come?
Tell me more about it.
I will. Actually, offline.
You need a guest speaker?
I will tell you more about it offline. But yeah, co-hosting a retreat. I'm so excited. It's our second time doing it this year. So I'm really looking forward to it because the first time was really magical. I'm also in the middle of writing a book about journaling through the Akashic Records, which is like intuitive journaling. So yeah, 2 big things for the rest of this year.
That's a big project already. I'm sure it's taking a lot of your time. But so much fun.
Yes, I actually love it. I really do.
Awesome. Where can people find you if they want to learn more from you or maybe work with you as a coach or maybe hire you for the next big TV show? Where can they find you?
Oh my goodness. Well, my website is lgvalentin.com. You can find all the links there, everything about me there, and across social media, it's Lisann Valentin.
Perfect. We're going to make sure to link everything for you guys. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. That was so fun. We had such great conversations and so much value for everybody. So I'm so excited that you were here today.
Thank you, Nata. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad we got to talk.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.